Okay, so we're going to talk about masks. So in Photoshop, masks are used to control the visibility of different parts of a layer without permanently deleting any content. A layer mask allows you to hide or reveal portions of a layer by painting on the mask with black to hide, to reveal, or shades of gray for partial transparency. Vector masks use paths to define the area that's visible or hidden. Masks are non-destructive, meaning you can edit or remove them at any time, making them a flexible and powerful tool for blending, compositing, and refining your image. So first, we are going to open a photograph of a background in Photoshop. All right, so I've brought up so first we want to copy and paste a photo, or we want to open a photograph of a background in Photoshop. So I chose this one from when I was in Yellowstone, and a bison crossed my path. That was super close to it, and then I copy and pasted a photograph of a person with curly hair, or a pet with furry hair, or with fur. That's not easy to select. So I chose this picture, and I don't know what's going on with it, but on this computer, I am looking bright red. So I don't know if that's how it's looking on your screen. I don't know. I think I want the saturation, so I'm going to adjust it first. I'm going to take down the saturation like that. Okay, that's looking better. But say I wanted to show how close I was in reality with this bison and me. There's no circumstance where you should actually be this close to a bison, and especially have your back towards it. So we're going to Photoshop it, but definitely don't do that in real life. That would not be safe. Alright, so I'm going to turn this picture on. I am going to go to select and mask. I'm making selections of myself since I have really curly hair. A lot of times it's really hard to get around that hair, or it doesn't look realistic. So that is why you would want to create a mask for that selection. You are able to edit it further and make changes to it. So we are going to use the following tools to create a complex selection. So we can change the view mode right here so we can see what has been selected. So right now I've got part of my body selected because it is not covered in red. View mode lets you choose how to view the selected areas against the background. This is essential for seeing how well your selection is working, especially when working with intricate edges. So on black shows the selection against a black background, making it easier to see the edges. On white, shows the selection against a white background. On layers, displays the selection over the image with all layers visible. Marching ants shows the selection as a traditional marching ants outline. Overlay shows the selection with a red mask overlay to distinguish the selected and unselected areas. Black and white displays the selection with a black and white contrast, often useful for hair and fine details. And then I'm going to switch it back to this one for right now. Okay. So the quick selection tool used for painting over areas you want it to select. It automatically expands the selection base on similar pixels, color, and texture. Click and drag to paint over the area you want to select. The tool will automatically detect and add areas with similar texture. Hold down Alt or Option to remove areas from selections. Go ahead and select everything. Oop. So I'm going to press Alt and try to unselect some of this area, but then it deselected part of my leg. Alright, so then we can use the Refine Edges brush tool right here. This refining difficult edges such as hair, fur, or any fine details where the selection might be messy or jagged. So I'm going to zoom in on my hair right here. It's looking pretty pixely. Maybe I would have wanted to use a picture, like a higher quality picture. It might have been when I sent this over for my personal device. I'm going to go over the hair. And again, it can be helpful to see it in black and white. Just going over those edges. Paint along the edges where the selection needs refinement, like the hairline or any soft edges. Photoshop will try to automatically detect and improve the selection around those areas, blending soft edges with the background more seamlessly. So global refinements, these settings adjust the overall selection and mask edge. They are especially useful for cleaning up a selection or improving its sharpness and smoothness. So smooth right here, it smooths out jagged edges of your selection, useful for cleaning up rough selections or areas with uneven pixels. So you can see if we have this set to on layers, which I definitely want to make some more corrections before I finalize this mask. But let's see how it looks. I think that looks pretty good. It blends it together there. Feather. So that softens the edge of the selection, increasing the feather amount blends the selection more gradually with the surrounding pixel, reducing harsh transitions. Well, way too much feather. Contrast adjusts the sharpness and the selection edge. Inward selection edge, increasing contrast, makes the edge sharper and more defined. So see how it's defining that? Where it's going to make them look a lot more separated. So I don't think I want much contrast on there. I liked how it was making it very smooth. And then the shift edge moves the selection edge inwards or outwards. Moving it inwards contracts the selection, while moving it outward expands the selection. So see how it is expanding that selection. But you can see how it's adding this halo kind of around here. I think I'm going to want to put it inward more like that so that it reduces that halo. Okay, so then if we expand the output settings, decontaminate colors. This setting is particularly useful when your selection leaves behind a color fringe, such as a halo of the background color around the object. The decontaminate color options helps remove any color contamination along the edge of the selection. So check the decontaminate color box and adjust the slider to remove color fringe. This setting works best when you have a high contrast between the subject and the background. So let's see. Make it small amount. Maybe then we don't need to have shift edge so much. And then output settings. So these are the final steps to determine how the selection or mask will be used. Selection, keep the selection active after you click OK. It keeps that selection active. Layer mask outputs the refined selection as a layer mask, so that's ideal for non-destructive editing. New layer creates a new layer with the selected area. A new document outputs the selection as a new document, useful for isolating a subject entirely from the original background. The new layer with layer mask outputs the selection as a new layer with a layer mask applied. So that's the one that I want to choose because I still want to have that original picture. All right. And then the color edge. All right, so next is the edge detection. So selecting areas with soft transitions like translucent objects or objects with subtle gradients around the edges. So adjusting this radius. This setting helps refine the selection of an area with soft edges like hair by extending the selection into semi-transparent areas that blend with the background. Increase the radius to include more of the semi-transparent pixels around the selection edge, ensuring a cleaner transition between the subject and the background. All right, so I still want to make some edges, so I don't want to finish mine yet, but the next thing are the output and finishing touches. Once you've refined your selection using the selection tool and settings mentioned above, you can choose your output settings, and here's how you might finish with a layer mask or a new layer. This is the most common output. Okay, so tips for using select and mask effectively. So start with a good initial selection. Use the refine edge brush on hair and fur. Use smooth and feather together. Zoom in. Check the view modes. When you are all done, you'll press OK. All right, so I made some changes to the selection. So now that I have it how I want, new layer with layer mask, I'm going to press OK. OK. And so now you can see that there's the layer here and the layer with layer mask is here. And now I just want to make some adjustments to make sure that they look like it's the same photograph. Maybe I should have changed some of it with this hair right here. So I might go back and adjust that. Let's see. Now one thing is the lighting on here is a little bit different than the other picture. So maybe I would need to make some adjustments with that. But overall, we have now put our picture on another picture with using a layer mask. You're going to go ahead and add your name to the bottom right corner. Save it as a PSD and as a JPEG file. And that's how you use a mask in Photoshop.